man who probably couldn't get a hearing in his own country, the most unpopular president in recorded US history, is coming to Belfast. And of course the anti-war movement and many others have discussed it, that this invitation has even been issued. And we are doing our best to organize the biggest possible response involving as many people as possible to Bush's visit and to the invitation extended to Bush by people who claim to represent us.
An invitation here to show that Belfast says no to Bush, Belfast says no to the slaughter of innocent people, and that Belfast says no to the illegal occupation of countries all over the Middle East. George Bush's war in Iraq has claimed the lives of over 1 million innocent people, and it's left millions displaced from their homes all over the Middle East. An invitation here to show your opposition to Bush, show your opposition to the slaughter of innocent people in Iraq and in Afghanistan, and show your support for the worldwide anti-war movement. An invitation here to show that the ordinary people of Belfast say no to Bush and say no to the slaughter of innocent people and say no to the illegal occupation of countries all over the Middle East.
Amnesty International was very keen to send the message to President Bush that we find the human rights abuses that he and his administration have committed in the name of the war on terror are frankly unacceptable, and I think that message came loud and clear from the streets of Belfast today, where an awful lot of people took part and an awful lot of people wishing us well as we went through Royal Avenue, Victoria Square, around City Hall and back here to Writers Square. And that's a clear message, and the message is Belfast says no to torture, Belfast says no to extraordinary rendition, and Belfast says no to camps like Guantanamo Bay that have been in existence now for nearly 7 years without one single person facing a fair trial. Tomorrow, 12:30 at City Hall. I understand for 2:30.
Fuck Bush!
It's an absolute disgrace that he's been invited here, and we say no to George Bush here in Belfast today. George Bush is a man of war. He wants to come here to act as though he's part of the peace process here. You can't be part of a peace process and a man of peace in one part of the world when the world knows you're a man of war. It's an absolute disgrace that he's been invited here.
I represent a section of the women's movement that has for years been active and campaigned for world peace, against nuclear warfare and for peace and justice on our own streets. The first message is from Haram Sudan, who is Secretary of the Iraqi Women's League, and she says, the Iraqi people have not been liberated by the US and the UK. Reconstruction of Iraq is now a euphemism for daylight robbery of our resources. The second message is from Hannah Amira, who lives in Jerusalem, and says the demand of the Palestinian woman is like the demand of any woman in the world: to live in peace, to see their society independent, safe, prosperous and developed. In Palestine, the only way to achieve that is through achieving the national rights of Palestinian people in self-determination. The next message comes from Vinnie Burrows, an American citizen, actress and political activist from New York. And she says, the war in Iraq is $1 trillion disaster, while everything is falling down in the States. We hear that Bush is visiting a school in East Belfast. No doubt he needs to go back to school, but we don't want him contaminating our children's mind. And this reminds me of another fine American, Pete Seeger, and one of the songs that he wrote. What did you learn in school today, dear little boy of mine? What did you learn in school today, dear little girl of mine? I learned that wars are not so bad. I learned about the great ones we have had. We fought in Germany and in France, and someday soon I might get my chance. That's what I learned in school today. That's what I learned in school. Thank you.
George Bush can come here and represent himself as a man of peace. We all know here in Belfast that he's nothing but a man of war. And I think this protest today is about reaffirming those beliefs from 5 years ago and continuing our opposition to these wars and continuing our opposition to the slaughter of innocent people and the illegal occupation of people's countries. I think this demonstration represents today a wonderful way to show resistance and opposition to the occupations of countries in the Middle East. But I believe that we still have a job to do. George Bush's tour of Europe this week has shown us his hidden agenda, has shown us what he really wants. He's out in Europe trying to garner support for his plan on Iran. George Bush is planning for an attack on Iran. And I believe that if Iran is attacked, we'll be faced with a situation far worse off than what we now face in the Middle East. And I think it's in that sense that today we must say here and now that if one finger is laid on Iran, whether it be from Bush or from Olmert, that Belfast must see mass demonstrations, Belfast must see the occupations of universities from the student movement, and Belfast must see workers taking strike action and walking out of their workplaces. And just on that note, in that sense, I would appeal to people to join the Belfast anti-war movement, do what they can to support the cause for the Belfast anti-war movement. We've still got a war criminal to stop. Thank you.
I just want to start by taking this public opportunity on behalf of the Irish Trade Union movement to congratulate the Raytheon 9 for reminding us that you can still take direct action and make a difference. I am absolutely delighted that today we have blocking our streets, because it would be a damn shame if the only people who blocked the streets of Belfast today were the CIA. We have citizens, workers, trade unions, anti-war groups, political parties, pressure groups, and nobody has forgotten that we pledged to support the people of Iraq and we pledged to oppose this war. I say very categorically that George Bush and everything he stands for is not welcome in our city, not welcome in our country. And if anybody thinks that the way you get direct foreign investment is to pander and sacrifice other people's freedoms and other people's human rights, then they need to think again.